Hi, everybody. It's James Becker, CEO and founder of Fusion Growth Partners. This is an episode of Going For It with James B. For those people who are associated with our organization. Today, I'm going to talk about one of the services that we provide that I think has tremendous value and sometimes is diminished by our partners, but it is critical for those people who want to grow their business. And that is the MAAP meetings. And I'm going to walk you through some of the details so maybe you can have a better understanding of what it is that we're trying to accomplish when we're setting these meetings aside, taking our time to really help you. And sometimes, we have clients that are like, oh, you want me to go to these MAAP meetings and I don't want to do it. Well, the only reason that we want to do it is because we know it helps you grow your business. Otherwise, why would we want to spend that time doing something that wasn't valuable? And what is valuable is that you go through a process of measuring what's happening with your business and measuring your sprints. We'll talk about that a little bit more. The MAAP meeting stands for MAAP, stands for measure, who's accountable for what's happened, and then assess on how we can do better, and then plan for the next sprint, if you will. So let's get into this and let's talk about it a little bit. The MAAP meeting is where we measure the inputs and what was the result. Now, what are inputs? Inputs are the things that we have control over. How many people did we call? How many people did we put into our database? If we're really focused on building a video platform, how many videos did we shoot? Those are things that we have absolute control over. So what are the inputs, and did we do what we said that we were going to do? And then we say, okay, who is accountable? If the inputs were done, why were they done? Because we want to be able to repeat that. If they weren't, why? And who's responsible for that? Number three, we want to assess, okay, whatever the results were, why? What was learned in that time period? What can we do differently to improve hitting those goals? And then to discuss a little bit out loud of what were the consequences of either hitting the inputs or not hitting the inputs, good or bad. And were there any unintended consequences? And then the next is the plan for the next sprint. So we set these things up in sprints. Here's what our goals are. We have long-term goals out in the future, but we break it down into what we call sprints to really focus in on a short period of time. And then if we have a bunch of successful short periods of time that are consecutive, our chances of hitting our long-term goals are much higher. So when we're planning, we look at what are the specific steps we're going to take in this next sprint or time period. Specifically, what are the input activities that we're going to use? And then we get a verbal confirmation where our partner says, yes, this is what I'm going to do. You're setting those sprints. We're advising on those things. What the MAAP meeting is not is a strategy session on business planning. In the beginning of Groundbreaker, we created a formula and a plan for you to execute. The MAAP meeting is about the execution of that plan in certain time period sprints. It is not about what should we be doing differently. No, it is about execution. It is about measuring the execution, because ideas are worthless. It is the execution of the idea that is critical. And this is why the MAAP meetings are so darn important to be a part of. We need to look at what our goals were for those inputs. Did we hit them? Measure them? Who is accountable? Assess how we can do better the next time. And so I suppose you could have a little strategy on how to better hit on your execution inside that, and then plan. Here is the next set of inputs that I'm going to do in this specific time period. Just to re-emphasize, the MAAP meeting's purpose is to measure the previous time period's results on the inputs of the business and its objectives, assess what happened, to hold the partner accountable. That's our job, is to hold you accountable. This is not fun for us, but it is necessary. If you want to really grow a business, you have to be accountable to somebody. And then to plan for the next time period. In this meeting, the partnership development executive functions as a member of your advisory board. And so when we're teaching them, it's not like, gosh darn it, you didn't do what you were supposed to do. It's not shaming. It's like saying, hey, look, your goal was to call 100 people this week, or 50 people this week, or whatever. You didn't do it. So let's talk about that. Why did you not do it? Now, if you're coming up with a bunch of reasons or excuses maybe why you didn't do it, and as an advisor, we can say, yeah, but it only would have taken an hour a day. Do you think you could have found an hour a day? And then you're being challenged and you go, yeah, I could have found an hour a day. And so this is a process, again, of holding someone we care about accountable. That's you. We care about our partners. And so we have to have these sometimes conflictual conversations, but it's what helps you kind of see what it is that you're doing so that you can improve if you choose to. We're never going to shame you about you not doing what you're supposed to. The downside is for you. We're going to be okay regardless. We want you to succeed. And so we really want to help point this out. So it's not about shame. I just want to make sure that you understand that it's clear. It is the task of the partnership executive to make sure that the process of the meeting is executed as planned and that we cover all of the items that we need to. So what's covered in the MAAP meetings? Well, the meetings have a specific purpose that will help Fusion grow the business partner, the partner's business, and help the partner achieve the results they desire by focusing on the area that make the most difference in your business. We call that the macro. We want you focused on big rocks, not the little tiny pebbles or the grains of sands, the big rocks, the macro. More specifically, those are the areas of input that makes a difference, which is growing your sphere of influence, nurturing those relationships, and not being focused on output. Output is a result of the inputs months and weeks before. So we want to focus you on the macro. And sometimes we have partners that get focused on little things that are bothering them, and they're putting a lot of energy in that. And we want to also say, hey, is this going to move the needle of your business? Is it going to really make that much difference in the amount of business that we potentially do? And if the answer to that is yes, okay, great. That's a macro. But if it's a no, then it's a micro. And we want to take that precious time that you have and try and help you redirect it into the macro. The only way to ensure a client or a partner is tracking with the business plan and will improve is to set up and hold to a routine of measured results of key areas in the business, making the most difference to the partner's business by moving forward. This cannot happen if you're not regularly measuring. We want you to be working and focused on the activities that make the most difference, where you can have influence on those areas and discuss the outcomes of those measurements. And the purpose of this regular conversation about our mutual goals as a business to make sure both parties are doing their part. And that's also, if you have an employee, you would get together and say, hey, how are we working together? How are we creating efficiencies? This is super important if you're going to have efficiencies and growth and to measure, just super important. Let's talk about priorities. Oftentimes, we hear from clients, they make the MAAP meeting a non-priority. And let me tell you something, that's a huge mistake if you want to grow a big business. We believe one of our fundamentals is that a business, a successful business, is just simply a whole bunch of repetitive routines that are done efficiently over and over and over and over again. And the MAAP meeting is one of those routines. We believe that the MAAP meeting should take priority over other activities, even if they're considered urgent. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more. So these meetings, in my opinion, must be a priority. So Stephen Covey, who wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, says that what is important, like super important for actual growth, is seldom urgent. And what is urgent is seldom important. The difference between urgent and important is explained by President Eisenhower, who's credited with the general who orchestrated the victory over the Nazis in the European theater. And he says, urgent means that a task requires immediate attention. These are the to-dos that shout, now, you got to do it now. Urgent tasks put us in a reactive mode. And let me tell you, when I look at the hundreds of partners that we have, that's where most of us operate, is in this reactive mode, and it's not healthy. So anyhow, this is his quote. Urgent tasks put us in a reactive mode, one marked by a defensive, negative, hurried, and narrowly focused mindset. Important tasks are things that contribute to our long-term vision. That's what a MAAP meeting is. Values and goals. Okay, important is what focuses on getting to the end result. So Covey explains that the more time we spend in energy on urgent issues and do not make the important task a priority, the more we create chaos in our business. And there's a lot of real estate agents, even with us, arguing for these MAAP meetings that have chaos in their business. They're running all over the place. There is, the day happens to them versus them making the day happen. And when we neglect to solve the core problems in our business, we create the urgent issues for ourselves. And because we're running around doing the urgent, we're never focused on the core issues, which is what the MAAP meetings are about. You have to solve the core issues, and you have to have a priority to make it happen. Because what happens for a lot of us is we have people who say, oh, something happened, I can't do it, we'll put it off a month. No, we're not solving the core issues of your business if we're not doing that, because we're not doing the routine of measuring our sprints, which is the execution of our strategy that we have put into place. Is this ringing true for you at all? Do you feel like the day happens to you versus you making the day happen? And if that is the case, the MAAP meetings are critically important. So this meeting is super important and should be set at the end of the Rainmaker launch. At the end of the MAAP meeting, the next MAAP meeting in the sequence should be scheduled. So we do a MAAP meeting, we need to then schedule the next one. This is important because both the PE and the partner must commit to this as a top priority. If you want to grow your business, this MAAP meeting must be a top priority. The only reason it should be missed or rescheduled is because someone has a critical family matter, not a little family matter, a critical family matter. Other business matters will not be considered important, including but not limited to an escrow falling apart or a very unhappy client. And, sometimes we hear, oh, I had someone who wanted to meet with me, and this is the only time they could do it. I don't buy that. I imagine in my mind, an agent has a listing for $1 million list, or a listing appointment, I should say, for $1 million listing. And then someone else calls and they have a house that they want to sell that's worth $1 million and they want the same time. What do? You have to schedule around these things. They're both priorities. And so if you say that the MAAP meeting is not a priority, you kick it to the curb and then it doesn't get rescheduled and you take care of the urgent. But one listing does not get you to the long-term end. This is why I say the MAAP meeting is more important. One listing gets you a commission check. Solving the core issues of your business and making sure that executing on the strategy is done consistently on a regular basis, that's going to get you to where you make $250,000, $500,000, or $1 million. And this is why this meeting must be super important. So the rhythm of meetings. Now, as a service to you, you can choose what that rhythm is. At minimum, it should be 30 days. For me, in the very beginning, it should be 1 to 2 weeks maximum. I like 1 week when you're coming out, like every single week. Let's hit this sprint. Let's make sure that it's happening. If you really wanted to be successful, you would stay at 1 MAAP meeting per week. You could shorten them up. The PE can help you do that if we're doing a lot of them on a regular basis. I would say ideally, every 2 weeks is best. And our PEs will have those meetings for you. If you go to a typical real estate coach, they bill anywhere from $250 to $1,000 an hour, and they usually give you like a week, and it's a little bit more like therapy. It's not necessarily on the schedule. If you wanted more meetings, they're going to charge you more. For us, this is just going to make you sell more homes and increase your business a year from now. And we want to be a part of that process. So we're willing to invest our time into you to have more MAAP meetings if you want to. If you're dedicated, we're going to do it for you. We are going to absolutely give you that time if you want it, because we are committed to your growth. So it could be every week, it could be every 2 weeks, or it could be every month. Don't do it longer than every month. It's not going to help you make sure that you're executing your plan. And again, I want to go back to what I was saying. We have a strategy in place. This is not a strategy meeting. This is an execution insurance to make sure the strategy is being executed. If you have a strategy and you're not executing, nothing good is going to happen. And so I really want to drive this point home. Execution is the key. And the MAAP meetings are so important. On our side of things, we have so many checklists and so many things we measure to make sure that we're executing our part. We just need to make sure you're executing your part. The combination of those is explosive in a positive way, but they have to be done consistently, and it has to be done in a regular routine. It says here on the sheet, it is critical that there is a consistent routine of MAAP meetings. Okay, that is our episode for Going For It with James B. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, and watch for the next episode coming to you in your email. All right, have a great day, and we'll see you next time.